So welcome back to the channel, everybody. This is John with SwingFit. So in today's video, I want to talk about your golf clubs. And to be a little bit more specific, I want to focus on your set composition, because there's no secret. If a club fitter is going to help you get the most out of your golf clubs, we got to make sure you have the right 14 weapons in your bag to escape all those different type of situations that you may encounter when you are out on the golf course. So if the thoughts ever crossed your mind of, what should your ideal iron set makeup look like? Should you add more wedges in the bottom part of the bag? Should you add an extra hybrid, or should you just leave the hybrids out and go with an extra fairway wood? So if these thoughts have ever crossed your mind, then today is a great day. So not only are we going to share some tips and advice in the quickest period of time possible in a little segment that we like to call 5-Minute Thursdays, but we're also going to share the exact same advice that we pass on to our customers when they go through the fit process. So without further ado, let's jump in. Before we start the clock and share some of those tips, I do want to take a quick second to welcome any new viewers to the channel. So if you are interested in learning more about the club fitting process, maybe you're thinking about going through the fitting process for the very first time, maybe you've even already been through the fit process to only leave with a bad taste in your mouth. If this sounds like you, I guarantee you, you are in the right place, because the true intent of our channel is to do nothing more than to educate the golfing community, not only on the many benefits of how club fitting can help you take your game to another level, but to also just dive super deep into the weeds to help you get the most out of the club fitting process. So all you got to do is consider hitting that subscribe button below and turn on that bell so that way you don't miss out on any of the cool content that we are creating. Now, I do have one housekeeping item I need to address before we begin, and that is, based on your feedback and some of your questions that you left in the remarks, it kind of sounds like you might be interested in seeing what does our fitting process look like from start to finish. So if this is something that you would be interested in seeing, then do me a favor, leave your remarks below. In an attempt to help you keep track of all the recommendations that we're going to make in this 4-minute section, we created this nice little checklist here of all the 14 clubs that can be in your bag, with the driver and a putter already lit up. So that really means we only had to help you identify 12 other clubs. So without further delay, let's throw 5 minutes on the clock and let's start now. Without question, once we identified the best driver and putter, irons would be the next best thing that we need to identify, because they're going to likely account for more than half of the golf clubs that is in your golf bag. Now, generally speaking, we're going to be looking at a 7-piece iron set makeup, and with the rare occasion that sometimes we might go with a 6-piece set for our better players. Maybe they want an extra scoring wedge in the bottom part of the bag, forego the gap wedge, or maybe, an 8-piece set for those that may not like the looks of a hybrid or just have struggled with hitting hybrids. So going with a 4-iron or maybe even a utility iron could potentially be a great alternative there. But once again, the sweet spot is usually about 7 irons, but where do you start and where do you stop? The best piece of advice I like to offer my customers would be to start with the iron you're the most comfortable with. And the reason why I make this statement is I see a lot of 4 irons in my customer's bag. I see a lot of 3 irons in my customer's bag, and they think obviously that's where I need to start. Well, guys, truth be told is if you struggle with hitting your 4-iron, your 3-iron, heck, even for this matter, if you struggle with the 5-iron, please leave those clubs out of the bag, because there's something going on, whether it's the technique, a level of confidence, or maybe if it's even just a mental block, the 6 inches between the ears, that's preventing you from swinging those clubs as best as you can. And even with the new shiny sticks, you're still going to struggle until you overcome those 3 things we just talked about. One of the other things to take note of is just because you have a 14 club limit doesn't necessarily mean you have to fill all 14 slots at the exact same time. And heck, for that matter, I would even say that a lot of customers leave our studio with only 12 clubs or 13 clubs because they know they got a little bit of homework to work on that technique. And personally speaking, I would rather sell my customers a golf club that will get used opposed to something that will never see the light of day. Now, in regards to where you stop, we have a lot of our customers will forego the gap wedge in the iron set because they may already have a traditional gap wedge, thinking that 2 gap wedges would be redundant. But that's where a lot of our customers will fall into this trap. And then if you view those wedges in your iron set makeup as more like iron extensions, your pitching wedge is more like a 10 iron and a gap wedge more like an 11 iron, then you'll likely avoid that common mistake, because here what we're really looking for is what is the gap distance between the last iron in your set, the gap wedge, aka the 11 iron, versus that of your first traditional wedge. And what we're looking for is no more than 15 to 20 yards. And if you forego that gap wedge, pretty good chance you're going to see something larger than that. So always go with the gap wedge in your iron set, and you really can't go wrong. Now, with only 5 spots to fill, there's no secret, I'm always going to recommend more traditional wedges in the bottom part of the bag, more so than that of an extra fairway wood or hybrid at the top end. And we'll get back to the wedges in just a sec, but the only time I might consider going with an extra fairway wood or hybrid would be from a 15th club scenario. And what I mean by this is, let's say you like to play longer golf courses where it might be in your best interest to take out a wedge and put in the extra fairway wood or hybrid. And it's really at your discretion of which one you do pick and choose. But if you had the extra fairway wood for some of those longer holes, could potentially be a difference maker and actually help you play better on that specific golf course. But here's the key thing, is where that hybrid starts is very, very critical, because we can't have a super large gap between your last iron. And here would be my tip, is wherever your last iron in your set makeup finishes from a total perspective, and this is very, very important, not carry, but total, that's where I want that hybrid to begin. And the same will be said about the fairway wood. So wherever the hybrid finishes from a total perspective, that's where I want that fairway wood to be picked up. And if you add extra fairway wood or hybrid, just do that same scenario and you can't go wrong, and you will have perfect gapping at the top end of the bag. Now, circling back to the bottom part of the bag is our last 3 traditional wedges, and as long as you're not looking at the gap wedge and the pitching wedge in your iron set as wedges, you really do only have 3 wedges in your 14 club makeup. And every single club is designed to do something a little differently. And in regards to that gap wedge, the only thing you're really trying to do is fill that void between your last iron and your set. And that number is 15 to 20 yards. So whatever the loft is to help you get that, just let it be what it is. Try not to overthink that. And then from there, just build the rest of your set composition in your wedges, based off of that traditional 4, 5, or 6 degrees of loft progression in order to get the best sand and lob wedge in your bag. In regards to which one is your Swiss Army knife, generally speaking, whichever one you'd like to chip around the greens, usually go with a lower bounce and the most versatile grind, with the other wedge being the widest sole and a little higher bounce, so that way you truly can escape all those crazy situations. And just like that, in 5 short minutes, we shared a bunch of information and a lot of tips in order to help you build your perfect 14 club set composition. And if you happen to have any questions or comments, please do me a favor, leave them in the remarks below. And if you did find value, smash that thumbs up. And until next week, don't forget to take a look at one of these videos over here, because there just might be a couple golden nuggets that can help you take your game to another level. So thanks again for watching.